Hello, and welcome to Chess Magazine's comparison. This is number 80 in my chess chinwags. Before we start, I'd like to thank Modfather 1964 for being a new subscriber, for coming in, and I hope he or she enjoys themselves. And don't forget to like and subscribe below if you yourself are just an occasional visitor. I've got 3 magazines to show you. The first of these, there we are. Looks like something's happening there, like Dad's being woken up. It says British Chess Magazine, August 2023, with a cover price of £5.50. And there's an interview with Hendrik Carlsen, who is the father of Magnus Carlsen, who was for 10 years the world chess champion. He stepped down, as you know, I'm sure, and it's called My Son Magnus, The Making of a Chess Prodigy. And then underneath it says Chess, Children and Parents, the Ups and Downs in the Life of a Child Chess Player. So there he is, reading a book which probably isn't about chess, which has probably come to something of relief to, if not to him, then to Dad. And there is Hendrik underneath. So I'm just opening it up to see what we can find. Well, it lists what's in the issue. And the first thing I find is Chess, Children and Parents, the Ups and Downs of Life of a Child Chess Prodigy, explained by Grandmaster and Coach. And it's by Alex Kolovich, a frequent contributor, Grandmaster, frequent contributor to BCM. There we are. Smiley face and a crying eye. In other words, a bit of both. And we're all entitled to a few tears occasionally, aren't we? Just trying to get tidy here. That'll be the day, won't it? But I was trying to. Right, I just breezed through. Life is so fast, one success is quickly forgotten, a new one is expected immediately. Everybody seems to forget that the talented child is first and foremost a child, and not a money-making machine that should be exploited to the maximum. Cites an example, not a recent one, from about 30 years ago. Gatakamsky reached the top, but he failed to beat Karpov in the 1996 FIDE World Championship match, thus never becoming world champion. Kamsky was an incredibly strong player that came from Russia, where he attracted some controversy, and he had a very pushy, shall we say, father. He suffered a breakdown after this and left chess for 8 years. That's Kamsky, not his father. While also severing contacts with his father. There's a one-page report about the British Championships in Leicester this year. A spectacular 8th victory for Michael Adams. And the ladies was won second consecutive crown for Lan Yao. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that correctly. Lanyao. And here is Magnus's father, looking pensive, but not sad, just pensive. And he was being interviewed in Dubai. So he's 61 and he is the manager of his son. Calm, polite and easygoing, typical Scandinavian. Yes, but also remember, Vikings. I might have to put that in, but I suppose no harm is done. It's a complex issue and something my wife and I have been thinking about. In other words, what do you do with him? The family trip Hendrik is referring to is often mentioned as one of the key times in Magnus Carlsen's upbringing. It also says something about Hendrik and his wife approach the tricky question every parent faces: how to prepare your children for life. I don't know that you can. Here he is with Dad, presumably on an aircraft. See that? And here is Magnus Carlsen, who grew up to become world chess champion. And here they are out having done a bit of shopping, it looks like. And that's that. Part 2 of the interview is in the September issue, and they conclude with the October. So it's in 3 parts, and it's I would think a fairly heartfelt plea. I mean, there's although it's quite direct, it probably does contain a fair bit of depth, as if to say, you know, we wondered at many stages, and I'm sure many parents would say that, you know, don't get too, you know, sidetracked. And what about your schoolwork? And, you know, what about going out with your mates? And, you know, you in that football team then? You know, anything really to change the subject. Now, how we have an article about a lady whose name as usual, I can't pronounce, but there it is. She's Chinese. Queen of the board. She defeated her compatriot for the 4th and won the world championship for the 4th consecutive time. She is with her trophy, which looks a bit OTT, but I don't know. See that? Probably can just about. I'll put the light on. Sometimes putting the light on doesn't always help. Anyway. Here she is with a crown, not of thorns, in front of the microphones, double microphone, in a thrilling and tough match which lasted 12 classical games. In other words, 40 and 2 moves. 40 and 2 moves. 40 moves in 2 hours. There was 300,000 euros in prize money, which she won, and the runner-up got 200,000. So that wasn't too bad. The match was tough, grueling struggle, where each side gave little chance to the opponent. Unlike the April match for the absolute world championship title between Nepo and Ding Liren, which was won by Ding Liren, surprisingly, and in a way pleasingly, but we'll leave that on one side for the moment. In the end, out of the 12 games, this is back to the ladies, played, only 3 ended with a victory. Well, the reason for that is because their technique is so superb and their preparation pays off. It's not because it's dull or repetitive, though both of those elements can enter in. It simply means that this is chess at the highest level. The match starts with a press conference and a photograph. I haven't been trained by John Upham. I think that's a useless photograph. What's the point of that? It could be anybody sitting up there. Could even be stuffed dummies, couldn't it? And they go through the decisive games of the championship, which was game 5. Don't even give all the moves. That's a shame. Game 8. They don't give all the moves, although they do mention the opening, and they give a diagram, which is always a plus point. There we are. I never hold it still, can I? There we are. Gives you a flavour anyway. Here are the ladies from an aerial view, which, although a bit distant, is almost symbolic there. beautiful carpets, and you can see the spectators crouching in the corner, wondering what on earth is going on. And now they give the game 12, which is the other decisive game. And there is the lady that lost, Lei Tingy. She's expressing some relief, but also involvement on a very high level after all. There's an article about chess in China and the match itself by Hu Fan. I went to a private chess club and my coach was an amateur chess player. We'd take out the books and we would start rehearsing a few opening moves, and then we started playing. It was very exciting period for me. Now it's different and much more modern. Hu was one of several Chinese chess players to win medals and paved the way for the country to climb to the top of the chess world. Yes, India and the USA and China, of course, are in contention now. But China seems to concentrate rather more on the individual rather than the team effort, but I don't know. But the story is different in women's chess, where 9 of the 17 women's champions so far have come from China. That's what I was trying to explain. And here is the lady herself, not the world champion, but at the moment, because she's got other calls on her time. There she is. Deep, but not that deep, perhaps, in concentration. I'll read you the last paragraph. If you lack motivation, you just enjoy yourself, but it has its drawbacks. To have motivation, but lack experience, it reminds me of Faruja in the 2020 candidates. That was the surprise qualifier. He didn't do well, but he tried hard. There should be a balance. The players will find the most suitable path for themselves. It's not the same for everybody. You should see what makes you feel more ready, Hu said. And now an article by Raymond Keane, OBE, the immortal Renaissance artist Michelangelo. He begins by talking about, and the illustrations are something else for a chess magazine. The medium is the obstacle, it says. He met Duchamp. He went to his house, and he also went after he died and asked Teeny, who was his widow, Ray did, if he could look in some drawers and see what there was to be gleaned. He mentions his theories that Arthur Conan Doyle based various people on various living souls from 120 years ago, or whatever. He mentioned Freud. He mentioned Schiller, not Eric Schiller. Reti. And then he gives a game between Hammer and Magnus Carlsen, where he plays a stupid opening. This is probably one of very, very fast time limit games. And here is Carlsen with a trophy. He looks pleased, and the trophy is that white thing which is ascending. Picture of Anand, one of the oldest players still in the top 10 in the world. Probably is the oldest player, actually. I can't imagine he's going to be disappearing anytime soon. An article about Bobby Fischer. by my friend Pete Tamburo. Not the Exchange Lopez, which Fisher is increasingly known for. Openings for amateurs. There's Bobby. And there's the game. Nice to see. It's got, starts from move 1, goes through to move 12, and then they give a diagram. There's some talk about the Queen's Gambit, the television series. I always think it's a film, but it wasn't. It was a television series. And now they've brought out a game, a chess robot that uses ChatGPT to insult you during the game. I'm sorry, I'm completely at sea here, but I'm going to show you the picture again. There she is. And there's Beth Harmon. A caricature of the young lady. Problem World with Christopher Jones, 4 positions. A book review by Peter O'Brien of The Wizard of Warsaw. A chess biography of Simon Winower. Winower, you will remember, gave his name to the variation as black with bishop b4 in the French defense. The absorbing work gives us several things at once, covering 190 pages, splendidly written by the Polish chess historian. Not simply a biography of Winower, hitherto rather neglected figure. Well, I've got a little book about him, so there. Right, at the very beginning, there's a full sheet giving the family tree, beginning with Israel Jacob, probably born in the late 18th century. The family was living in the territories of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Was it indeed? Well, this is a long time ago. Hence the chosen name Winower, and it was the numerous family that were living in Warsaw. In other words, they planned together. Here's a relation of theirs, looking skyward, wearing the amount of regalia. I have to be honest, I've never heard of him. Never mind, if you read this article, you would have heard of him, wouldn't you? Talking about chess art. And here is his gravestone, which unfortunately the label on the picture, see the snow at the back, the label on the picture is actually wrong. It misspelled his name, but never mind, that doesn't matter. Mentions that he enjoyed a cigar, as did so many at the time, including Lasker, Chigorin, and so forth. I don't know if Valentine smoked cigars. Maybe the younger champions didn't so much. Anyway, when Tsar Nicholas II organized the Great St. Petersburg tournament of 1914, he invited all living players considered to be grandmasters. Winower was amongst them, but in fact declined the invitation. Well, he would have gone into history had he played. He almost definitely with Alekhine, Capablanca, and so forth. He wouldn't have won, but he probably have done pretty famously. Here we have quotes and queries with an enormous heading, which I don't approve of. I think they could put in some chessboards, diagrams. It is miniature games that have an enduring attraction. There's a game, J.H. Blake of Southampton, and George Brunton Fraser, who I have heard of, but only distantly. Francis George Timms Collins, I've heard of him. There's a game between Gary Lane and A.R.B. Thomas. and it is a Scotch. Well, it transposes. Gary was to write a book on that. And finally, another game by A.R.B. Thomas against Simon Finn, who I think lives around here, Newbury maybe, Maidenhead. And articles, Endgame Studies by Ian Watson, one of BCM's longest enduring, I nearly said, columnists. And a page of answers and another page of answers and an advert. And it encourages you to subscribe, and I encourage you to subscribe. And there's a lion pointing. Right, let's move swiftly on. This is the American chess magazine, which I get sent from the US of A, with thanks to Pete Tamburo for that. Let's see what the cover says. It says, rises from the 31st seed to World Cup, a new chess Rocky in the making. Well, yes, I suppose that's okay. All things chess, where great minds meet. Two conquerors, US chess titans, Caruana and Nakamura, victorious in European super tournaments, says John Burke, who's also a grandmaster. The lost super tournament of 1929, endings. You thought you knew the Philidor position with Alex Fishbein. I'm told those endgame articles are something else. You think you know your endings. You look at what he writes about. Here's Beth Harmon, who I mentioned before, Queen's Gambit heroine, and this is the spin-off game, which I dare say is good fun for people that are confident on computer play, which I'm not, but that's just maybe. And the magazine has won an award, Best Overall Magazine. Chess Journalist of the Year is a Mr. Pete Tamburo, of whom I've never heard, the CNET editor. Well done, Pete. Here we have the ladies who played off for the World Championships. They give us some games. Well, one game anyway. I'll show you that. You see to be glamorous. I was in trouble for saying that. But I think she does, so I'm going to say it. There we are. And there's the scoreline, which I don't remember seeing it in BCM when we went through. That's an interesting little point. But Mikaru. They've just got married. And he has married a fellow chess player, Paul Kashian, who switched federations to the US last December. Yes, you get a lot of this now, people roving the globe, often induced, but in this case it was, but not by money. Good for her and good for them both. I'm going to skip a bit here. An article by the editor, Mr. Krunich, and I don't think you need telling who these two guys are. There we are. And it has this is an article by John Burke, who in his own right is an extremely strong player. This is from Chess Norway. Norway, obviously, is still aglow because of Magnus Carlsen. Many games with many notes. ACM visits West Palm Beach. I wish I could do that. It is. There we are. And that's the picture of the front cover. One of the front covers, isn't it? Anna's come back and wins the Cairns Cup in St. Louis. Head of many Grandmasters. And here she is with the signed fields. Sank field. Sorry. An interview with Anna. One of the questions is, your children are raised in a chess family. Do they have any connections with chess? And she replies, my son began to develop an interest in chess recently. He attended a chess club, has participated in tournaments since last April. I hope he will continue playing. Well, that's a straight answer to a straight question. Speaking of our noble game, how surprising that they were doing that. What is the best advice you have ever received? After the game is before the game. Is it? Right. Okay. After the game is before the game. That's going to be worrying me all day. Ladies Masterpiece Games, and it gives some games from the Cairns Cup. It's a bit, the text is a bit small, but you can see what you can see the moves, of course you can, and there's diagrams as well to help you. There we are. An article about the US Junior and the man that qualified for the World Cup, which is being contested now, which was a knockout, and won by Magnus Carlsen. The Magnificent Three. Giri gives a hearty welcome to the new world champion. And here we have Wonder Girl Zoe has been dreaming of becoming the first girl to win the Oregon Close Championships. Her dream finally came true. Less than a month before her 15th birthday. She's got a trophy that's as big as the Empire State Building. Yeah. Well done, Zoe. No doubt. First of many victories. You can never tell, actually, because I know people who said, I'll never play this well again, or I'll never get this amount of adulation, and they retire when they're at the peak. Somebody won the Hampshire under 14s. I know that's not as good as Zoe, but that's a title. And he said, no, I'm not playing anymore. Mr. Agard and his masterclass. Mr. Quality Chess Agard, who lives in but doesn't represent Scotland, or something like that. An advert for ECO endings. Where Las Vegas luck rules. The National Open. Skipping quickly through. Here's Zoe again, we mentioned earlier. Here she is. Concentrating and concentrating. Silman's Hidden Gems. And here is, if you know who this is, you're my friend, gentleman with the white hair. I did see him once and once only, very briefly. This is Miguel Najdorf, who is originally Polish, but came to Argentina and settled there upon the outbreak of the Second World War. New chess era. Never before has versatility proved to be more necessary than today when it comes to opening choices. What changes have we experienced due to the computer chess revolution? May we use the word offbeat for any chess opening today? No, I don't think we can. A chess home in the Old West, Sheridan. Looks very nice. Asking about thinking. There is actually an inverted U-shaped curve between stress and performance. We perform best at medium optimal level of stress. More ladies. The horizon effect. Haven't heard that expression used for quite some time. The one and only John Edwards. I'm talking about Jeremy Gage, who was the records keeper, wasn't he? And here is Mr. Fishbein maybe, and his Indians. Talking about the Philidor position. You can keep this straight. There we are. And there he is in profile. You cannot knock it if you can do these positions. It is a massive spur to your chess. The Lost Super Tournament of 1929. The Dream Date swipes left. A picture of Alekhine and some of the competitors at Bradley Beach. Edward Lasker, Tenner, Horowitz, Spark, Helms. And the tournament was won by Alekhine with 8.5 out of 9. Wasn't exactly pushed to the limit. Lajos Steiner was second. Some book reviews by Mr. Carsten Hansen. And he rates them using stars and a little bit of explanation. Probably quite good explanation. I don't always agree with his opinions, and why should I? I'm sure he wouldn't agree with mine. But there we are, gives a sort of listing, Grand Prix, and an overall assessment. It's a good idea, really, to, just look in to see what's being read and what's being offered. Some tournament results, international, some tournament results, national, to the USA, because this is an American magazine. And at the back, I've ripped the last page. At the back, Q&A. What advice to young players? I highly recommend chess for youngsters. There are, of course, a lot of advantages to playing chess, like developing creativity, discipline, and focus. Well, I never found that. But anyway, what do I know? There we are, an advert on the back. And that's that one. One more to go. Now, do you know who this famous grandmaster is? Do you? Result. Major investment to transform the future of English chess announced. I think you'll find this is the democratically elected Prime Minister. They have pledged, I think it's 500,000 or something, towards chess. And there is a chess set laid out in the grounds of number 10 Downing Street. And he's talking to Shreyas Royal, who is about to start playing in the World Junior Championship representing England. So I wish him well. And here's Tricky Mickey Adams with the, as so often has, the British Championship crown. There. Michael Adams. An advert for what chess coaches don't tell you, which is a book I'm yet to review, but I've looked through it and I didn't think it was particularly special. But it may be a good building block to some skills. The Hard Fought British, with Michael Adams playing Stephen Jones, who shone and came second, despite the fact he was seeded 32nd, and he finished second. And there he is, with his distinctive baseball hat on. I've got one now, just the same. Unfortunately, my moves are not quite the same as his, and he was kind enough to give me an interview, which I'm very, Stephen, if you're listening, but even if you're not, thank you for the interview. His game against the Irish, one of the Irish players, Graham Buckley, playing in a little tournament, an all-play-all, against Andrew Muir from Scotland. Find the winning move, in other words, little puzzles which you can do on a train journey or whatever, they always say that. But you can solve without a chess set. Well, I can't solve them even with a chess set. It's probably too difficult. How Good Is Your Chess? By Grandmaster Daniel King. Big advert. Ben Graff, the novelist, amongst other things. And Ben, if you're listening, I have still got your book, and I am revisiting it for the second time. The commentary team at the British Championship, Adam Hunt and Danny Gormally. Terry Chapman, talking about whom Kaiser didn't favourite the British. Terry Chapman, very strong. And even richer chessmaster. Forthcoming events, nice to see that these are coming back into common circulation, in other words, after COVID. Steve Firth discovers rapid play chess in a binary world. I don't know what that's about. Paul Littlewood, talking about beating grandmasters when you're not a grandmaster. In other words, how to not act, but what if you perceive yourself to be the underdog. Carl Portman, talking about history. Amos Byrne, the merchant, amongst other things, chess master. And I'll go by my old friends. Julian, I miss hearing from you. Julian Way, FIDE Master Way. An interview, not by me, of Stephen Jones. There he is again. If you ever get paired against him, you be careful. He's no one's fool. Some home news. Results, in other words. Lots of results from the British Championships. A few more pages. It was one hell of a championships. We didn't have quite enough space in Leicester, but we did have 1,500 entrants or thereabouts. An obituary of Matanovic. Overseas news. It's colourful, informative, and with some pictures. And it covers Azerbaijan, Belgium. I wasn't clapping Azerbaijan, I was trying to kill a little flea. The USA. News. Jeff Chandler, a very amusing and quick-witted writer. I think lives in Scotland but isn't Scottish. Might be wrong. Maybe he lives in the north. Book reviews. Book reviews by Sean Marsh. Speaks with some authority. And at the back, John Saunders. Saunders on chess. And adverts for books. And some more books. I apologise for rushing, but I was running out of time. There we are. If you'd like to subscribe to any of these magazines, Google them and you'll get the up-to-date subscription rates. And I very much recommend that you subscribe to any and all of them. And I hope that you will enjoy that which you find. Thank you for your time. This has been James Pratt signing off, and this has been Chess 80.